Well, welcome back to Hillbilly Shipwright. I'm Johnny, and this is where we are building Model Shipways 3-boat Become a Shipwright of Old series. We've already built the dory, and we are currently working on our Norwegian Sailing Pram there. And this kit is by, did I say Model Shipways? Model Shipways. So the pram, that's where we're at. We already got the boat. I think we've got all the woodwork done, except for the next step, which is find out what page I'm on. Step 45. So we're picking up on step 45, which starts off with the oars. And then after the oars, we got the sail to make. We'll try to get all that done in this video. So the last video should be just putting it all together, getting the mast up and the rigging and all that stuff. So let's jump over to the bench and see what we got to do to make our oars. Okay, real quick here, step 45, oars. While 5 oars have been supplied, 1 is extra for practicing on. Only 2 oars are really necessary. The process for shaping them is similar to that of the dory. They talk about removing char and all that other stuff, and I'm just going to show you. I've read all this, so and if you have this kit, you've already read it too, and you may not understand exactly what they're talking about. So these are the oars. I think I'm only going to build 2 for my pram. However, they do give us in the fret here 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought it said, even though I've read all through this, I never really counted the number of oars here. I only see 4 oars. 1, 2, 3, 4. They say 5 oars have been supplied. That's true in the dory, but that's not what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing 4. So anyway, enough confusion for now. As you can see, though, we're going to have to shape these. Now, what I have that I use a lot, except for that always falls out. This is a X-Acto sanding block that I've had for a very long time, very, very long time. And I've got some 150 grit paper here on it. Now you can make one of these if you don't have one. If you know somebody that's got like a table saw, you can see we have a radius on the end, which you could sand in yourself. There is a back bevel cut here to hold the end of the paper, and then a reverse on the front side there. And I mean, it works. It's very old. Total length is 5 inches by 3/4 inches thick, and it is 1 inch wide. So if you have a spare piece of wood, I mean, you don't have to go by those dimensions. I do suggest that you go with 1 inch wide. And the reason why is because I use this right here. There is 4 rolls of 20 feet each of sanding paper here. And it's cloth backed. All right. Emery cloth, and if you look up underneath, we got 150 grit, 240, 320, and 400. All right, I got this one off of Amazon. You can find this on there very easily by doing a quick search. Made in Taiwan. Here's the SKU or the barcode there. Just in case you want to get some of this, I find it very useful. Here's the item number for it, 96777 by Lifetime Carbide. great. It's really emery cloth, but I like using these, and they fit perfectly on my little sanding block here. So that's what I'm using. Now, going through the instructions here, the very first thing we need to do, they say remove the char. I'm not going to remove the char because I kind of like being able to see the light areas versus the dark char, which allows me to really be able to tell the progress that I'm making. So we're going to sand a taper on both sides here. Well, not really well, we're going to sand it at an angle for both sides of the paddle. We're going to do the paddle first, getting the bulk of it off. And the way we're going to do that is if you put your oar onto your sanding block, I might even just prop that up a little bit there. And we're going to increase the angle just a little bit. Just a little bit. We're going to start sanding it. So that's 10 passes. I know I'm shaking the camera, I'm sorry. But you can see we've already started our taper there. So the idea is to continue sanding it evenly on both sides until we get up to here. So, flip it over. Sorry, I know I'm shaking it. Now this being basswood, it sands rather quickly, so we can, if we see that we got too steep of a taper, we can kind of modify that. So I'm going to go ahead and sand the tapers on this, and like 10 strokes, flip it over, 10 strokes, and it should be just a shallow taper. And you don't want to sand it into a blade point on the end. Okay, don't do that. We're roughing it in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this one. Then we're going to compare this one against the actual laser cut part without sanding, so that you'll see where I'm at on the sanding. So I'm actually about halfway through my sanding there on the blade. Just a quick note here. Save as much as you can your sanding dust here, because it comes in really handy in making wood filler, okay? Which is a traditional way to do it. By mixing this and watered down PVA glue, you can make wood filler. So if you've missed that part in previous videos, that's what I'm doing. I'm saving my dust. While we're making it, we can make wood filler at the same time, and you can see where I'm at. So I'm about halfway there, and I've only been sanding for about 2 minutes, so this is going to go pretty quick. So I think I've got it sanded as much as I want at the moment. As you can see, we do have a distinct angle on both sides. So we've got our taper started. We're looking pretty good. Now, let's see, where's my calipers at? So this is another useful tool. I'm going to be checking. So I'm at 0.124 inch that way, and 0.130 that way. So we're not exactly square, but that's okay. That's fine. Then we'll check this end up here. And 129. versus 175. So 129 is our target for the upper part of our oar here. And we're going to want it circumference wise to each cross section should be a circle. So I don't know exactly how close we're going to get to that, but we're going to do our best. Let's see if we can use our jig here. Because what we want to do is we want to cut these corners off. And I'm going to have to readjust the camera. There we go. Now you might be able to see what I'm doing. I'm just going to take my spoke shave. Now you could use your hobby knife or whatever. We're just going to quickly remove these corners. And we're going to go from 4 sides to 8. That'll eliminate a whole lot of sanding for us. Just like that. It does get a little tricky to hold. Yeah, got my curly cues in there. Somebody's gonna tell me. Don't be saying stuff like that. Having a sharp plane or a sharp spoke shave or something like that. I mean, if you're serious about working in wood, you're gonna need that. So the whole idea here is just to eliminate a whole lot of sanding. Got stuck there. Ideally, you're supposed to use 2 hands with a spoke shave, but the wood is so soft, it's not that big a deal. So our spar shaping jig is coming in handy here for trimming this down. So we're just eliminating excess wood there, which is starting to get us into the realm of what is round, ideally. Okay, so I went ahead and caught the other oar up to where we were at on the first one. And we have shaved the corners off there. So we've got kind of 8 sides going. So the next part, I am using 150 grit sandpaper here, that emery cloth. Now, what the instructions tells us to do is to, let's see, do I have a long piece here to show you? Let me grab this right here. They tell us to put it in a vise and to use your sandpaper around it, like so. And then you'll just pull it back and forth, you know, to get your round profile. And you can do that, but if it was hardwood, I wouldn't have a problem doing that. However, this being basswood, and I have broke some pieces. If you've been keeping up with the builds here, you know that I break things sometimes. So the way I'm going to do it is I am going to hold this emery cloth in my fingers, and then where I have started the shave is where I'm going to sand. So the wood's much stronger in this direction than if I was to go around it and try to sand it, you know, pulling on it. So wood is always stronger with the grain than against the grain. So now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Now I'm not sanding in the plane of the paddle, okay? I'm just sanding on the corners that we cut. Now, the reason for that is because I need to get our round shape versus thinning it out. I don't really want to thin it. Not yet. Now, sanding with your fingers, you can see we've already gotten into the, that's dirty. It's from the, oops. It's from the char, which is all right. It's all going to come off eventually, but you can already see where we have knocked down the corners already, just with those few strokes. So I want to stay with sanding it on our cut corners, and coincidentally, when you're sanding like this, you're not doing just one edge at a time. You're doing this one and the one on the opposite side. So you can really start to remove some material, especially at 150 grit. Now, since my spoke shave didn't get all the way down in right here, next to where the blade is, you can see we actually need to sand a little bit more down that way to get that body of the oar to start to come into the right diameter there. And you can see we're making progress. So that's good. Now when it comes to the rest of the oar, the blade part here, the paddle, same thing. And by pinching it with your fingers, you're going to sand more towards the edge than you are the center, because edges are just weaker. And the oar is actually going to start taking shape. It's going to start to get that that curve to it there that we like to see, instead of it just being flat. And you can probably see that actually happening. If you can pick up on it there, the differences between the center and the edges there. So it's already taken shape for us. So now all we got to do is just keep going. And make sure that your pressure is going back and forth and not laterally, because that would be bad. It being basswood, we can break it. And we're going to check our progress. This is where the calipers come in handy. I've got it set in inches, but you can set it in millimeters, whatever you like. So I haven't been modifying the original thickness of, you can see there, 0.129. So this is a little thick on the sides, and then where we're sanding it, we're starting to reduce, see? And so you can just use your calipers there to kind of clock your progress, because you do want to get it kind of round. Now, the other good thing about using sandpaper to do this with your fingers, with it pressed between your fingers, you can actually feel the difference between thin and thicker. So you can actually decide that you need to sand something a little bit more. It's all about touch, unless you don't have any feeling in your hands. That would be, well, then that wouldn't apply to you. You're going to have to use the calipers. That's just the way it is. And I know some people, because of circulation and all that, you don't necessarily have good feeling, but you can kind of feel your progress. So we already know it's a little bit wider than it is thick when it was laser cut. So because of that, if you continue to sand and the char disappears, you're probably going to be right where you need to be. So that's my tips on sanding. When you get it really close to where you want it to go, you can switch to a different grit from 150 to say 220 and finish up your sanding. And by sanding it by hand like this, you're going to get a really nice finish. It's going to really come out good. So after a few minutes of sanding, you kind of see where we're at there. Looks really nice. Now this is the one that I haven't sanded yet. So I'm going to catch this other oar up to this one. Now I haven't switched over yet, but the next, I did all this with the 150. So I think the next, I need to get a 240. Yeah, I'm going to use 240 to finish dressing it. And we'll get rid of all the char. And get those nice rounded edges with the 240. Now you may want to find a good place to do the majority of your sanding rather than at your bench, if your bench is like mine in the house. As you can see, you do produce a lot of sawdust. So, I do mine out on the back deck. so that's where I'm going, and we're going to get these sanded down. Then the next thing, we'll have to do our handles here on the end. So, alrighty, we got them sanded down to 240 grit. And I've taken off the char. Well, there's a little bit right there. It needs to be taken off. There we go. I thought I had it all. Maybe some touch-ups there. I'm still going to rub these down later with probably steel wool. But that's all up to you, how much of a smooth finish you put on it. The next thing we need to do is we need to work on the handles on the end. I think they're called handles. Let me see. Actually, it calls the inboard part is called the loom, and then the outboard part is called the body, and then the paddle end is called a blade. So there you go. Anyway, what we need to do is we need to make our handle here. I'm going to use this rifler here, I think. Just a matter of filing in. We're going to do the same process here. Actually, I actually need to reduce it. Yes, I am going cross grain. Which, if you know anything about woodworking, you're not supposed to do. But I mean, it's okay. We're doing removal here. Need to remove the same amount on both sides. Am I shaking the camera again? Yep, sorry. So the whole point here is to get the shape of the handle in place. You're going to want it to be... Now you can make just the straight post type. I'm going to try to make mine the one that's swollen in the middle there. I think that gives it a better look. Which means we have to file on a multiple angle here to get that effect going. So the hardest part of anything is just to get it actually started. Once you get it started, it's just a matter of coming in. You can do this with a sanding stick too. I do like that, I guess you'd call it like a palm swell look. I'm going to try to maintain that. So it's just a matter of careful sanding to affect that, get that. Get that effect there. And then we'll come back in and clean up where it connects there to the rest of the loom, I guess. Yeah. So once you get it roughed in, you know, it's just a matter of making it round. Yeah, we're getting there. This will probably take me longer than sanding all the rest of the oar, but we are getting there. So I'm going to go ahead and do both these and get that taken care of. So okay, I sanded in my handles there, the grips on our oars. They look pretty good. I like that. I like the palm swell type there. And that's what it used to be. So we came a long way. All right, let's see what else we got to do to outfit these oars. All right, so the next thing we need to do we need to put our leathering on. We're just going to use brown packing paper for that. But I need to know exactly where to put it. Obviously our oar is a little longer than the one in the diagram, but that's okay. That's all right. I'm just going to put the bottom boundary here in with a piece of masking tape. And I want both of them to be the same. Get them to overlap here. All right. So the objective here is to take us a piece of brown wrapping paper there. And you can use cardstock, whatever you have, or you could just paint them in. But I'm going to put this on. So if you've seen the last video, you would know that I had a heck of a time with that chafing pad that goes on the mast. So I think maybe let's do something a little different this time. So we're going to put some PVA glue here. Let's put a little bit. We still have our 50-50 mixture of our PVA glue and water. We're going to use that, I guess, but I think first off, I am going to glue it to the oar first. So PVA glue shrinks when it dries. It's really good for modeling. It really is. So these little pieces are about 20 millimeters. Find my best edge here. And I did cut it square. I'm probably not square in the camera though. I'm obviously going to have a trouble here. Obviously. It's not going to want to behave for me. It is going to fight me. If I had masking tape this wide, I would use it. And just paint it. But I don't, so I'm just gonna go with this. So what they would do is they would take leather and they would just tack it around. So there we go. So I got it stuck. So I'm going to kind of let it dry. That'll hold it and keep it from slipping around. So now I need to go ahead and do the other one. I think I got a square edge here. It's always important to start off square, because if you don't, you're not going to end up square. So, alrighty. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to glue this one on too. Alright, so I did this differently, and it seems to have worked really good. So we're going to do the other one that way. First of all, I need to get this masking tape off out of the way. There we go. All right. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to glue it. We may come back in and put the 50-50 mixture over top of it once we get it set. What I don't want it sliding around and popping off and doing all that crazy stuff. So if I started it out square, it should end up square-ish. Well, that's not bad. Not bad. Just take our finger. Get any excess off. That worked much better. Now, for the tricky part. I'm using these, I don't know, cuticle scissors or whatever they are. Got that curve on them there. So that I can get in close. Get rid of all of that right there. So you're going to have an overlap. I would prefer the overlap than to have a gap. Gaps are never good. Put our PVA glue on, just like that. Give it a second. Or 2 or 3 or 4. Just giving it time to kind of soak up into that seam. And then we'll just come in and rub our finger over it there. And that should be stuck. Yes. When I use the diluted PVA, which we're going to have to use for the sail, but when I use it for putting this brown paper on, it just creates such a problem with it sliding around and all that. So, all right, so there's those. Now, that's pretty much dry. We can go ahead and work on that. There is a ring. You can see the ring here. Let me see, there's a better picture of it. Here's where they talk about how to do the leathering. Step 46. As you can see, they've got a ring there on the oar. Now what that's supposed to do is it's supposed to keep the oar, if you lose your grip, from sliding through the oar lock and into the water. So we're going to simulate that. Well, not sliding into the water. we're gonna make us a ring there. So they do give us measurements for. Let's see. A thick band of leather is also added around the inboard end of the wrap. This prevents the oar slipping overboard. Should one lose one's grip, cut a strip of paper a little over 1/16 of an inch wide and about 5 inches long. Treat this the same way as described above for gluing, blah, 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 all that. Okay. So what they're doing is they're just wrapping it around the top edge there. What I'm going to do, if I can find my tweezers. Reach in here and get it. I am going to use, to me, a masking tape to do the same thing. I am going to start wherever my seam is, which has disappeared on me. All right, oh, there it is. Okay. Got the light going the wrong way. So I'm going to put it right on the edge of our brown paper there. I mean, it doesn't matter where you put it. You could put it above that if you like, right up against it. It's sticking to my finger more than it is the oar. Need to get it started around. Now, I'm not stretching the tape. I'm just keeping it even. I don't want the tape to try to contract later. Even though it's paper tape, it will stretch. And then when the adhesive loses its grip, it'll slip. Of course, we will take and we'll put a little CA glue at the end of it to kind of hold it for us. Who am I whispering to again? We'll put a little CA glue on the end of it there to hold it in place. How's that? Yeah. Tedious work. Just like so. So I used about, what, 4 inches? Yeah, about 4. I'm going to put me a little dab of CA glue right there. Right on the end. I do this also when I'm doing seat belts for aircraft. Keeps it all from coming loose later. Right now it's keeping it from sticking. Can't see what I'm doing. sure it's down. Okay, so that's the, I kind of like that. That's the gist of it right there. So I just have to, got to repeat that on the other oar. So they recommend using burnt sienna to paint these leather pieces up with. That's why I'm not too worried about the yellow there. So I'm going to paint it. Now you could mask it off and spray it if you really wanted to. I am just going to use the brush. Probably take a couple of coats. Try to get this. Whoops. I'll stick the end of it down in there. If I can do it. Oh yeah. So I'm probably going to have to put 2 coats on it. Gotta keep my hand braced. Some days I can actually paint. And there's other days where, well, it's not so good. So we're going to put this burnt sienna on. I'll put 2 coats on. And then after it dries, I'll come back and we'll clear coat everything. Oh, wait a minute, before we do that, there's actually a tip protector that we need to paint in on the end of the oar there. I stuck my finger in the paint. If I get my angle right, I'll be able to run this. Right on the edge there. Oh yeah. So this is just the craft paint. This is Art Deco Americano craft paint. I think it's like 87 cents for that bottle. Seems to be working fine. Yes, I should be using a larger brush. I just can't paint fine details with a larger brush. So I'm going to get these painted up. All right, so next up we have our end protection there. So I went ahead and masked up the end of the oar. I think it's going to work. Now you can use galvanized or copper or whatever. I'm going to use this copper right here, aged copper. And again, this is craft paint. I'll just put it in the same pan here. I don't need a lot. And I'm using it nice and thick because I don't want it to seep up underneath my tape there. I mean, it may still do that, but if it does, we'll scrape it off. So, the reason why they've got the tip protection on there is kind of twofold. Number one, to protect the oars from, you know, things like rocks and stuff. And then the other thing is that they seal the end of the oars so that the longitudinal grain doesn't soak up water and waterlog your oar. So I'll get these painted up. They should look pretty good. Okay, so with our paint dry, we're going to go ahead and use the MS 4972, which is the satin clear, to coat everything, to include our leather. Now I just have clothespins on our on the top part of our oar, the loom part of the oar. That way I can paint the oar, and we'll come back after that dries and paint the loom. Now this stuff dries pretty quick. Okay. We finished 47. We did our tip protection, and I also coated the oars there with the clear satin. Now we're doing 48, which is our I'm sorry, we already did the oar locks. 48. I don't know, 48 and 48. I'm confused. It should be like 49, but anyway. Making the lug sail. All right. There is more to a sail than just a piece of material. Cut a piece of sailcloth about 8 inches by 12 and place it on a non-stick surface, such as your cutting mat. Make sure that the mat is clean. Stretch the fabric out using pieces of masking tape as follows. Stick pieces on the center of two opposite sides, then on the centers of opposite ends. Finally, stick pieces diagonally in all four corners, pulling very slightly. And then we're going to dilute some glue and stuff. And we're going to have a second piece of 12 by 3 inch. So we need to check. Well, first of all, I did cut out my sail pattern. And that is on page 39, I think. Yes, page 39. I just put this in on my printer there and printed me a pattern so that I'm not cutting up the book. I like to keep the books, just in case in the future somebody asks me a question and I need to answer it. The book is a good way to refresh your memory. So I want to make sure that we've got plenty of sailcloth here. And it looks like it's not going to be a problem. So I need to cut about, I'll give myself 8.5 inches, I guess. And you can see it's got the wrinkles in it from the folds. Now you can do this with a knife. I'm going to use a pair of scissors. A good sharp pair of scissors goes a long way. All right. So there's that. So I need to clean up all these threads. Any threads that may be sticking to the back side of it there. You need to get those off. They don't tell us to do this, but it just makes sense. We don't want to be gluing up these little rogue pieces of thread here on our sailcloth. I'm going to kind of put it over to the side here because I'm going to have to do another strip over here in a minute or so. So, as per the instructions, I'm going to start taping down our sailcloth. I don't want my tape too far inboard on the cloth, because if it is, I may not have enough room for my sail. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tension on it there to flatten it out. Now we're going to stretch the corners. Going opposite corners here. Get it nice and flat. Now you could iron this, I guess. I'm going to follow their instructions. I know it's an oddity for me to follow instructions, but you know, I can do it if I try real hard. So there's that piece. Now we're also going to need another piece, so I'm going to go ahead and stretch this one out on the other side of the board here. So I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to get it stretched too. I'm going to do them both at the same time. It just seems to be easier in my mind. So there we are. So I have mixed up, I don't know if it's enough or not, but we have PVA glue and water. It's supposed to be the consistency of cream. I think mine's a little bit thinner than that, but it should work. So we are going to paint it down. Now the instruction says that if you put it on your cutting mat, it's not supposed to stick. We should be able to peel it off. I guess we will find out. Not everything that I agree with on the instructions, of course, and then some of it is quite vague, but it seems pretty straightforward when it comes to, let me get that bristle. My brush came apart. So just paint it on liberally here. It will soak into it, I think. Better. And it should get rid of any of the folds or anything from the packaging. Just make sure you get a good coat on there. Seems to be working there. I'm going to go back over the seams. Well, not the seams, but the folds. If it looks like it's not settling down, seems like the thing to do. All right, so that's what we're doing here. Now this is going to stiffen it, and like they say, get rid of the any wrinkles or anything that's in the fabric. Now you're going to have to use a different brush than the one that comes in the kit. This is one that I already had. And the reason why is because the brushes that come in the kit, I mean, you could use them, but they're very narrow for this type of operation here. All right, so I'm going to do this piece and I'm going to do the other piece, and we're going to let it dry. Now it does look a bit ugly. I got all the PVA glue on, but it also looks a lot like the picture. So hopefully we're on the right track. And what we have to do now is just let that dry. Now there is something I will go ahead and mention. We're going to be putting some battens in. As you can see right there. These are little bitty pieces of wood. And this is the 1/32 by 1/16 inch strip basswood. And we'll have to cut those to the length that's on our pattern. So you're going to have to find that in your kit. And you can go ahead and sand this and get it ready. Just don't sand it over top of where you got the glue drying, okay? Just lightly sand it to get rid of all the little whiskers and stuff on it there. So it'll be ready to use. And if you want to, you can go ahead and cut it. I'm pretty sure they're all the center one is long. I think the other two are the same length. I don't know that you would notice the difference. Yeah, they're the same length. So, 2 of one size and 1 longer. So I'm going to sand this away from the bench and get it ready while this is all drying. So I went ahead and sanded this very lightly. Get rid of all the little whiskers and stuff on it. And we do need to trim the end of it. So we're going to use our brand new Display angle cutting station to do this. First of all, we'll trim that end. Get it nice and square there. And then I need to mark the length so we get it as accurately as possible. Got a shadow there. There we go. So with that, come back in. We'll set our stop. So that we get 2 equally. These are the short ones that we're doing. There's 1. 2. And then we'll go ahead and measure out the 3rd one. I think I got enough room there. I'll pull that stop out of the way. Yep. There we go. So now we've got our 3 battens. Oops, didn't mean to do that. may need that again. So yeah, we'll just set them aside. Don't lose them. Okay, so this was not working out the way I wanted it to. The seam here is, no, well, not the seam, but the fold. They really didn't stretch out the way that they were supposed to, or the way the instructions led me to believe it was going to. So what I have here is called a heat sealing iron. Now, I've had this for years. Now, you could probably use just a regular iron if you wanted. And even though we've got PVA glue on it, I think we'll be all right. Well, I hope we'll be all right. Find me a brush here. So I put my iron on a low setting. So to keep you from having this problem, iron your material before you put the PVA glue on it. That's my suggestion there. We'll give this a try. I got it on the lowest setting possible, and I'm going to have to move quick because the cutting mat is not an ironing board, so you can damage your cutting mat. We don't want to do that. And this one has a non-stick surface on it, although it looks like it's kind of sticking a little bit. Watch me put a big burn or something on our on our sail. That would be bad. Maybe might be working better if I don't use water. So I'm going to do a few passes. And flatten this thing out. I'm not worried about the little intermediate wrinkles and stuff in the middle, you know, just the little waves and stuff. That's okay. That would be fine. But these seams, I keep calling them seams, these folds didn't really come out. So I think you should iron this before you attempt. I don't think the heat's going to affect our PVA glue, but of course this is drying it out pretty quick too. Yeah, I'm not gonna add no more water. That was a bad idea. So I'm gonna iron it down flat. This also will dry it out for us much faster because I've been trying to let it dry. And apparently it takes a long time to dry. So if it's mostly dry, this iron is working pretty much. The other option is to soak this in warm water. Just pull up the material, soak it in warm water, wash it out, and then iron it, and then start all over, which is probably what I should be doing. But I think I can get most of this out. That's my hope anyway. Something that we learn. Sometimes the instructions are not always correct. Definitely not in this case. Okay, so everything's dry. And I just got done marking out my sail. So that's why I kind of find it important to go ahead and cut the pattern out. So we have that all outlined. Now, one thing that you do need to pay attention to is weave direction. They show us which way the weave should lay. So when you put your pattern down on your material, you're going to want to do that. I'm sure it has something to do with the overall look when we're done. On the other piece of cloth here, we have a 3/8 of an inch strip and 3 1/4 inch strips. Now I just went ahead and marked mine out. I am going to cut mine with scissors. and I guess we'll see how good everything worked. So they do tell you to use a steel rule and to cut this with a sharp blade. I'm going to use the scissors on mine. And my scissor cutting may not be as straight as a blade, but the thing that I don't want to do is to, if you've ever used a straight edge and you don't get a cut in the single pass, and you come back and you make multiple passes on it, you may get a little off, especially with an X-Acto blade. And then you'll have fraying and all that going on. And I don't want that to happen. Now, since we use the glue and water mixture, that's supposed to minimize the fraying of the cloth, which is what you see going on around the edges here. Because I obviously did not glue around the tape, just up to it, and the reason why is because you don't want the water loosening the grip of your masking tape that's kind of holding everything down. So I guess we're going to find out, if I ever get all this off, how well the glue is going to hold the material together, and whether or not it's glued down to the mat. Okay, it came right up. That's nice. And you can tell it is considerably stiffer. Now, we're not going to take this one off. The one with the sail on it, we have to leave that exactly as is. Don't mess with it. Not yet. Don't want to mess with that. Yeah, so this cut's nice. Let me just get this one strip, or this edge, cut out from our strip. And then we'll check it for frayability. Is that a real word? Frayability? Well, it is today. There we go. So I'm pulling on it, and it's not coming apart. Well, that's good. That means the PVA glue has done its job. We get a nice consistent cut without all of this fraying going on here, as you see on the outside edge. So, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these other strips. And then we'll look at what we got to do to put them on. Okay, I kind of feel like a seamstress here. Looking at the instructions, they tell us to start with the top. And then they don't tell us anything else after that, other than the strip that goes along the curved side, or what they call the roach, which is also the leech side of the sail, and that's called the roach. Anyway, that one can be bent, or so they tell us. So the first one we're going to do is the thickest one. This is the 3/8 inch strip here. This goes on the top of the sail, and that is called the head. Just in case you're wondering. So what we need to do, well, first of all, let me do this. We don't really need a 12-inch piece. I just cut me off a piece here. All that extra is just going to get in the way. Okay. So that's where it's supposed to go. So two things. Number one, we need to lay down some glue here. Same mixture. Just lay it down there. Make sure that you got it pretty good there. Pretty good, pretty good. And then on the strip, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, they don't tell us to do this, but I'm thinking it's probably a good idea. That's why I'm over here on the side of the mat doing this. I don't want to get stuff all over the place where it doesn't need to be. Okay, there we go. Now all we got to do is put it together just like that. So with it on, I'm going to go back over it again. With some more of our PVA and water solution there. Just like so. That should be it. And then we're going to continue with our strips. All the way around. So now you get the idea. Just make sure that you don't have any gaps and that it's laying down. And then we got to leave it to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up these two, and then we'll see how well the leech side actually goes in. Now, as you can see, I have the other two, or the bottom and the, what's the other side called? The loof. The loof and the foot. That's done. So now we're doing the leech. Well, we're attempting to. They tell us that the material will bend. I don't know that I like that. Let me flip mine over because I can see a pencil line on it. Just give it a little bow. With it being wet, and I mean it is soaking wet with PVA glue and water, we can get it laid right down where it goes, like so. I just hit the camera, sorry. Then we'll come in. Just really soak that thing down. I don't know, does it look right? Eh, not really. I just noticed I got some straight edges going on there, and I probably don't want that. a little hard to do that on camera. Does that look better? More better? Looks more better. So I do want to make sure that the joints here, I hit the camera again, sorry, are really soaked in, and the edges as well. Keep running into the camera, sorry. Doesn't want to soak through there. There we go. Kind of use the brush and push it down, I guess. Your finger. Whatever. So, I'm going to go one more pass over the connections there. Like so. All right. So we need to wash our brush out. And somewhere's a lid. Here's a lid. Okay. Still need that. We're not done. So what we're going to do in the meantime, we have some battens. Now we need to put our battens on now. Let's see, long one in the middle. All right, so here's the thing about wood. If you put glue on one side, it's going to bow automatically, all by itself. So we're going to have to wet the opposite surface to make sure that it lays down flat, and when it dries consistently on both sides. That way it doesn't end up with a cupped look. Am I explaining that correctly? I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up like so. I mean, I obviously can't glue it into place with the paper in the way. So, it's not rocket science. It's a good thing. You know, they say, you know how good the boat designer is, as long as he's willing to go on the boat. So, looking for my toothpicks. So here's my plan. I want glue to glue our battens down. Get it roughly in the right spot. Not worried about excess. We'll blend that away with water in a minute. I'm going to need some water and our batten. Lay that down on there, just like so. Just like so. And now we're going to take our water and go right over top the batten. Like that. Easy peasy. And it may be close to where it needs to go. That doesn't look too bad, really. All right. So I'm going to move the camera out of the way, and I'm going to get the next one and the next one. We're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to let this dry completely. When it's completely dry, we're going to undo our tape. we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to tape it back down. And the reason why we're doing that is because we have these corner reinforcement pieces here. They go on the back side, or the opposite side, I should say, of the sail. So this is it that we just completed, and this is when we go to put the reinforcements on the corners. So while that's drying, we can go ahead, take our pattern here, and make sure that we've got strips or whatever, something. I don't think that's going to be wide enough. No. So we'll just take the remainder here from cutting our strips and cut some triangles, some pieces of cloth that are going to fit over the corners, and then we'll be ready for it once that completely dries. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my corner pieces out, and we'll see what happens. So I know it's not 100% dry, but that's okay. It's really close. Really close. Well, so if I can take this off without unraveling everything. I need to get rid of those. Those will cause me trouble. We don't like trouble. I'm saving the tape. We're going to flip this over so we can get our corner pieces in place. If I can get the tape off. So it does take a long time to do this process, waiting for things to dry and all of that. What I've been doing is I kind of leave it for like, 30 minutes. And then I've been coming in with my little old dryer here. And kind of speeding it up some. Okay. So now we got it flipped over. We're going to take and tape it back down. Let's see, I'll use a short one. I don't think it matters, but we're going to tape it back down in the same sequence that you do for doing it originally when we went to stretch it out, which didn't work out so good for us. But we pretty much got most of it. Since it's really stiff, I don't think we're going to have any issues now, because we do have quite a bit of, it didn't stick too good, PVA glue on it there. Just kind of pull it back out flat. That's what I'm doing anyway. Oh, I think I'm doing it. Okay, so there we are. Now, I've cut us some pieces, and what I went and did is on my pattern, where we have the lines that shows us where the corners go, I transferred those angles onto the back side of the pattern. That way we can kind of line it up and get it the way it needs to go. I'm assuming. So here's my little pieces. You just need to make sure that it covers what's going to wind up being the sail. Wait a minute. I think I meant this little piece to be here. Yes. Yeah, that'll work for there. This one will work for here. And then that shouldn't be an issue there. Or that one. Shouldn't be. Okay. So, now that we're all taped back down, we're going to do the same thing that we did before. I will take a piece. Soak it down. We're going to soak down the sail, where the part's going to go, just like that. I'm going to come in, and if you look, you can see kind of where the intersections are. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want to get it as close as I can to the pattern. Just like so. And we're going to soak that piece down really good. Make sure we got plenty of PVA glue going on there. Right where everything has to seal. Because what we don't want is we don't want it moving on us. And we certainly don't want it peeling up after we've put the model together. And the other thing is, we're going to be drilling some holes in this, so we kind of want to get that with as much adhesive as possible there. Give us our best chance for success. Just want to make sure that I extend my corner past the edge there, because we're going to be trimming this off later. You don't want to fall short on it. Somebody's probably screaming, "You're using too much." Okay, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and do the other two corners here. And then we'll have to just let it set and dry. So everything's dry now. It has taken quite a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off our mat. I'm curious to see if it peels up. It should. We didn't have any problems last time peeling it up. And then the only thing, well, a couple more things left to do. There's always something else left to do. Have you ever noticed? Alrighty. Now, because of the battens, I'm not going to peel it up from the side. I'm going to peel it up from the end, so the battens will kind of roll up with it. Just in case. I don't want to break them. Just like so. All right. So now we need to go ahead and cut this out. And I will use my scissors to do that. And it's it's a good idea to have a really good pair of scissors so that you don't have any, a hack job there. You got it cut out. I'm going to cut it out off camera though, because I don't want to be making, too many mistakes. So we have our sail all cut out, and that looks good. And I went ahead and marked the location of the holes that we need in it for our tying our sail to our boom and all that mast and everything. So a couple of problems about making these holes. Now, let's see. The book does tell us about dots of paint here will further reinforce the holes. I use deck light buff. As the material is now stiff, it can be drilled. Use a number 60 bit for these holes. And then each of the four corners also have holes. Make these a little larger using a number 55. So I have those bits, but the nature of these drill bits causes the material to fray really bad. So I tried it with these sharper bits, and it works better, but not great. So what I decided to do is to take a craft stick. This is a popsicle stick, and I drilled a hole through it, just like so. And I am going to use this to sandwich the material between a block of wood and this craft stick. That way when the drill goes in, you got a shearing action on the material, which gives us a cleaner hole. So I've already experimented and tried it out right there. So I'm going to move the camera down and show you my concept on how to drill a hole. And we'll see if I can make the next one as good. I will put a dot right. We'll just put a hole. Where am I at? Yeah, right in between. So there's our location, in between. And just to show you that I'm not fooling with your eyesight, I'll put an X on it there so you'll know that it's the right one. So I'm going to move the camera down where you can see what I'm doing. So we have our material. I'm going to put it on a block of wood here, just like so. And then we have our popsicle stick with our 1.2 millimeter drill bit. So if you run the drill bit down to where you can see it, you can place it right where you want it to go. Then all you got to do is get your popsicle stick down. So I'm using pressure here to pinch the sail between the two pieces of wood. And we're drilling a hole. Don't look bad. So that's where it exited. Just a little bit of fraying there where we started the hole. That looks much better than the other holes, and you can see that one right there. That just did not work out at all, just trying to use the drill bit. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it like that and drill all four corners with the 1.2 millimeter drill bit. And then for the lacing across the top of the sail or the head of the sail, I'm going to use a 1 millimeter for that. And we'll see what it looks like when we're done. So, okay, I am going to use the Deck Light Gray, which is the MS 4825, I think. It's kind of messed up there, but I believe that's what it is. Deck Light Gray. And I'm going to use that to represent the grommets around the holes here. You're going to need a fine brush for this. I don't know how well I'll be able to do this on camera. I will try. Oops, right into the camera. That's not too bad. Zoom in a little bit so you can see me mess up. So since the cloth already has the PVA glue on it, the paint shouldn't wick out. It should just kind of sit there. It'll soak in a little bit, of course. This will give it a look like there's grommets on our sail. I am having to dab it more than just brush it on. So yeah. Now I have to do the back side too after the front dries, but this being water-based acrylics, it'll dry pretty quick. So we got our oars done. Oh, they look pretty good. Kind of pleased at how they turned out, especially the leathering. That worked really good. And we finished our sail. So I even did we did the grommets there with the light deck gray. And I think I will go back though and pass the drill through them one more time because of the paint. You know, any really loose frayed fibers there is going to soak up that gray paint, and it should harden for us. And then we go back and use the same method with the craft stick and the drill and clean those holes up, and then we'll let it go at that. You don't want to keep fooling with it because you just kind of make things worse. So I do recommend though that you iron this before you attempt, doing the glue and all that stuff, because I can still see creases in my sail. And I'm not real happy about that, but I mean, it'll be fine. So we learn. That's the reason why we build these kits, so we can learn how to do them. So special thanks to all my subscribers. It's because of you guys that I keep making these videos, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and a comment. I'd like to hear from you guys. And you can also share the videos across YouTube space there. So if you have somebody that you know that enjoys wooden model boats, yeah, we'd like to get them on board and watch the videos too. So until I see you guys next Wednesday, you guys stay safe.